hey, can you touch upon diversity and inclusion? Because we're working hard on getting ethical AI in place, but we don't want to miss the boat by doing the wrong thing in diversity and inclusion. So, can you touch upon that area so we can figure out how that relates to ethical AI and how to implement our artificial intelligence in relationship to that? Well, diversity and inclusion, here we go. Let's focus on it quickly. A use case, for instance, in diversity and inclusion, why would you use it? You would like a inclusive and equitable work environment because you want innovation in your organization and productivity and overall organizational success. That's what you're after. So you're after fostering an inclusive culture. You need to define diversity goals to get there. And you do that by assessing the current state, obviously, to start out with, and rethinking your hirement and recruitment practices. And you encourage different perspectives in your organizations to figure out how are we dealing with diversity and inclusion. Now, it's not only about diversity and inclusion of your staff, but also about vendors and the vendor and community and relationships you have there in your organization. So you enhance on innovation and problem solving and meet the needs of a diverse customer base. That's what you're after when you're doing that. And you attract and retain top talent when you're managing diversity and inclusion. Besides all that, obviously you're meeting legal and ethical obligations, which is a major and growing concern to a lot of organizations these days for serious reasons. Let's have a look at the data that my data set and I came up with, me and my data set. What we're looking at here is sharing my window. There. Let's see how big I am. I'm tiny, which is fine for now. What you're looking at here is all the questions that you need to be asking when you're dealing with diversity and inclusion in an organization. So these are all the questions in the data set. The blue balls are all the questions in the data set regarding diversity and inclusion. Now, when I pull out one of those, and let me quickly explain what you're looking at. This one, just pick out one. There's a lot of them. I can zoom. You can zoom in and have a look at them. Why is diversity and inclusion in the workplace important? If I double click on it, you'll see what opens up. What opens up here now is the advice that's been given on how to handle and deal with this question. First thing that opens up is this one here, this big blue greenish ball, EDI transformation in general. If I open that one up, it will show me the job roles that are related to this task: digital customer experience strategist enablement, accounts receivable clerk, assistant administrator, and EDI developer in this case. Now, why is it important? These are the tasks that you can do to figure out why it's important. So these are the best ideas, the ideas to make sure that you're doing the right thing there. Improve diversity and inclusion in the area of diversity management. Is diversity management sufficient? Those are examples here that you can deal with. Now you also see a few different colors here. You'll see a green color and a green color. The green color, those are the best ideas that you can pursue in relationship to that. When I click on a green color, a red ball opens up, and the red ball, if we're lucky today, there's a red ball. It's a bit slow. The red ball is actually an extra select that I can pick. So if I only want to focus on initiatives, it pulls out all the best ideas around surrounding initiatives. So that's the way these things are organized. The yellow ball here does the same for the question. So if I click on inclusion, I only get the questions that are related to inclusion. So I can really focus and drill down on one specific aspect while I'm dealing with my staff, these people, these job roles. This thing I haven't mentioned yet, this little gray ball here, that's the prioritization number. So each and every question has a priority assigned to it, and the priority is calculated. There's an algorithmic calculation underpinning that based on the whole LLM. So the whole large language model, how important are each of the questions in relationship to each other, and which of the questions are more important than the other ones, and the one before that and the one after that. And the most important ones then come bubbling up to the top like a good champagne. So that's what we're going to do next to make it easier on you. The 7 most important questions to focus on when you're dealing with diversity and inclusion. So you don't have to go through all this list, and all the activities. So here we go. I'm going to do that now. Limit 7. So what we see here is the score itself. That's the priority score, the Moscow score, and I'm limiting it to 7. Hitting enter. There we go. These are the 7 most important questions to look at when you're dealing with diversity and inclusion. So when you're thinking about AI ethics, keep these things in mind. Make sure that you're taking care of all these areas, these staff members, these people, these parts of your organization. Let's pick the first one. When choosing third-party providers to work with, let's open it up here. How does your organization consider diversity and inclusion in that decision? So third-party providers. Are you looking for minority groups to work with as well? Minority owners in third-party vendors in that relationship in there. How are you taking care of that? If I open it up, we'll get to see what kind of actions I can be looking for. Use feedback from your community to shape your decision. Really helpful there. Have a strong belief in diversity and inclusion to you and your organization that is already implementing all the time and part-time in teams, and it's being implemented. Have a strong belief in diversity and inclusion strategy and make sure that it's not a leaky bucket, so it's actually being used in your organization and not just greenwashing, so to speak. Also support any diversity and inclusion groups or networks within your organization, so take care of that. Design for and manage autonomy, belonging, diversity, and select and ensure the effective use of key comparative data for operational and strategic decision making. Now we see here it's all related to excellence, major ball here, and these are the job roles that deal with excellence in your organization when asking this question. When choosing third-party providers to work with, how does your organization consider diversity and inclusion in that decision? Now, I can go deeper into that and go specifically onto diversity as a question, and probably a lot of questions will pop up, so there you go. So if I only want to focus on diversity, I can click on that one, and more of those questions will pop up here. I will make it go away now, because otherwise my screen gets overfilled. There we go. So that's the one. This one. So what we see here as well is that we see here that two other of the 7 questions are also related to these ones, because we see here diversity, this one pops up here, and we see organization, this one pops up here. Let's go with this one. Is your organization doing enough? One of the 7, remember, one of the 7 major questions. Doing enough to support diversity and inclusion in all the milestones of your employee's career, from recruitment, development opportunities to promotion. So the whole thing, the whole life cycle of an employee, basically, within your organization. So these are the job roles that you need to be dealing with in that relationship. And here the activities incorporate diversity and inclusion in your everywhere in your organization, including in development departments. Improve diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Make sure that it's important to the board of directors. Envision equality in your organization. Support diversity. Take diversity and inclusion to you and your organization. Make sure it's there and you have an equity-focused policy in place as well. And then we have inclusion, opportunities, and employees. So that's question number 2. And you can start to see that it's starting to build out. And this one's related to the main ball here, diversity and inclusion in service. Okay, question number 3. We haven't opened this one up. We've done 2 questions. This is 3. How is your organization driving diversity and inclusion at work to attract the best talent? How are you actually doing that? Here we see a senior HR system analyst. Make sure that one is in play and takes care of that. HR payroll consultant. By the way, associate director HR program management is here as well. By the way, these job roles, these functions are actual real functions in organizations related to the main area at hand. And the main area is then specifically the focus area. So HR technology, that would be HR technology in this case, related to that. So we see here more activities that you can take care of. Improve the diversity and inclusion officer and the information that's gathered for that person. Encourage your leadership team to have explicit conversations about diversity. Increase diversity and inclusion. Make it important to the next generation of entrepreneurs. Make sure that's not just a rumor, but you're actually doing it in your organization. No lip service here. That's not what we want to see and want to hear. So we've done 3. Let's quickly go through the last 4 and see how they relate. Does your organization have any specific inclusion hiring objectives or targets? Open that one up. Let's see, it's related to frequently asked questions. Measure the impact of diversity and inclusion for the officer with the information that's gathered. Have the right diversity and inclusion efforts within your team members, and ask them how they feel about the value of diversity and inclusion in its work in your workforce. So it's a lot about interaction in your organization, making sure that you have that interaction going to get that feedback. Work with diversity, especially within the team, to promote inclusion and equity, an important issue in organizations, including development departments. Don't forget to do those. So these are the three areas we need to be focusing on. Question number five. Question number five. How successful has your current organization been at promoting inclusion and diversity in the technology team? And we're specifically focusing on the technology team here because every organization is basically a technology organization these days. Or major parts of it are a technology organization. That's why that's important here. Here we see IT director, virtual CIO, operations specialist support, and it's related to the CIO area here. Have a dedicated member of staff with responsibility for diversity and inclusion. Definitely something that we want to be taken care of here. Then, question number 6. Has your organization adopted a formal diversity and inclusion policy statement that specifically includes age, among other commonly included demographic characteristics? There we go. Ooh, that's a biggie. There's a lot of action going on here. The diversity and inclusion policy statement. Have processes in place to validate age. Have a well-documented trade secrets policy. Ensure compliance with the data retention policy, and worry at all about implications for policy. Understand the many reasons the business could have a policy. These are related to diversity and inclusion tools, the tools that we have here, and these are the people that are related to that one. Customer Success Program Manager, Operations Analyst, Operations Risk Management, Audit Coordinator, IT Director, and Officers. Then we go to the final question of the 7 most important questions to ask when you're dealing with diversity and inclusion, making sure you're doing the right thing in your organization. Does your organization provide a channel for employees to give feedback on diversity and inclusion related issues in the workplace? Do we actually have that a channel? Get feedback on potential action steps. That's what we want to have, and have the appropriate team in place to handle that channel, taking care of that. And get started and make the most of this high impact channel, which is a marketing channel as well. Internally could be a marketing channel because you get information back in your organization. Now, when we look at the gray balls here, we see there's overall high numbers 4.3, 4.2, 4.3, 1.5. These are the 6 most important questions to be asking in your organization when dealing with diversity and inclusion, making sure that you're not forgetting anything. And they're related to these main balls here: HR technology, diversity, inclusion, CIO, excellence, frequently asked areas. Now, when I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to show you that as well. If I just click on HR technology, I get to see the main ball. I can do it with any one of these. I click this one, see, it's connected to that one. They're all connected. They're all connected to the main topic, diversity and inclusion. So what I'm going to do now is show you what all the other balls are that are in there that need to be covered. So we only focused on the 7 main questions that we need to be asking, but there's way more areas that we need to be taken care of in our diversity and inclusion strategy. And these are the areas that we need to be taking care of. So I'll pull that out a bit here. So these are the 7 questions that we've been asking, the 7 most important questions, and they've pulled out these 5, HR technology, product design, diversity and inclusion tools, CIO and excellence. They've pulled out these 5 out of these areas, as in these are the most important areas that you're focusing on, diversity program, and do that with these 7 questions. Once you've done that, or you've got time and the inclinations to do way more and better, dive deeper into all the other areas that you need to be covering. Hiring for diversity, diversity and inclusion governance, who is the chief diversity officer, net zero audit, technology transfer plans, employee pulse, sponsor process flow. If you're into HR, if you're into diversity and inclusion, you will recognize a lot of those areas that you're covering or need to be covering. Manage diversity. So this basically, if I zoom out, would be your roadmap to make sure that you're not forgetting anything on diversity and inclusion. And all this data is available. You can get it in the link down below in the video. It'll take you to our store where you can purchase all this data and use it for your own benefit. Now, all the data that's in here, I'm going to quickly show you that before I'm going to leave you. All the data is in here. It looks like this, at least it does in this visualization. So what this command does, it just shows you all the data that's in the data set and all the relationships that are in there. So you got a bit of an idea what kind of depth of data there is in here. So we focused on the 7 major questions to be asking when you're dealing with diversity and inclusion in your organization. So those are all the blue balls, the big blue balls. So we focused on those. There's also the mauve greenish balls, the larger balls, and those are the areas surrounding diversity and inclusion that you need to be focusing on. And there's questions related to those. And there's suggestions, ideas on how to deal and handle each and any of these areas, which are the green balls. And more areas to focus on, which are the red and the yellow balls. Main important thing as well is the blue balls, the dark blue balls, the smaller blue balls. Those are the actual job roles that need to be covering and taking care of and thinking about the areas in diversity and inclusion related to the main area and to the question in there. So there you have it. I hope you have a good overview now on how to deal with diversity and inclusion, how you can incorporate it in your AI ethics by specifically start by looking at those 7 main questions and then take it from there. And if you need more data, go to the link below. You can purchase it all there. This is all the data, and that's where you can find it. Thanks for today. I had a blast, and see you again tomorrow. Be good to each other.